sio uchaguzi wa 2027. Ya umuhimu sasa ni mpango ya transformation ya Kenya, barabara tutakazojenga, maji tutakayofikisha kwa manyumba ya wananchi, stima tutakayofikisha kwa nyumba ya wananchi. Hawa vijana tuwapange na ajira, na wale wengine wote tuhakikishe ya kwamba tuna madawa katika mahospitali yetu. Na ndio mimi nataka niwaulize viongozi, let us unite so that we can have a plan and we can prosecute the agenda for the transformation of our nation. Matters 2027 will come and the people of Kenya will decide. For now, we must focus on making sure that we deliver on the commitments that we made. And I want to promise the people of Kenya that this administration, under my leadership, is going to focus on the transformation of Kenya, making sure that our teachers are in school, our children are being taught, our farmers have the support they need. We build roads, we connect electricity, we connect water, transform our nation. That is what is important for every Kenyan, irrespective of their tribe, irrespective of the region they come from, irrespective of the religion they profess, irrespective of any other consideration. And that is why we must work together as leaders and as a nation. Na mimi nataka niwatahadharishe, upande ule mwingine ni watu hawana mpango, hawana sera, hawana ideas, hawana chochote. Ati mpango yao yote ni vile watagawanya wa Kenya. Kama hawasemi mambo ya ukabila, wanasema mambo ya sijui dini. Kama hawasemi mambo ya dini, wanasema sijui nani wa kutoka mulima, nani wa kutoka bonde, nani wa kutoka bara, nani wa kutoka ziwa, nani wa kutoka wapi. Kama hawafanyi hiyo, wanasema nani yako na kazi, nani hana kazi, nani yako na payslip, nani hana payslip. Mimi nataka niwaambie hawa jamaa, if you want a semblance of a competition, look for an agenda. Leave division. Division will not get you anywhere. And the people of Kenya are resolved to unite so that together we can transform our nation. We cannot transform our nation divided. We will transform our nation united. And that is why we are united as a people of Kenya. Watu wa Mandera, munasema tuungane ama tutengane? Tuungane.
Yes, that is the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, when he was addressing Mandera residents during that presidential tour in the northeastern part of Kenya. He's saying that we should stop dividing Kenyans. Let's look for agenda. That is what he is addressing the opposition. Make sure you join this wonderful conversation. This is Africa 24 political discussions, and it happens here every day at 10 p.m. That is East African time. Today, we are having a weekly recap, of course, of what is happening when it comes to the politics of this country. And I welcome you wherever you're joining this wonderful conversation. Make sure you join the studio and also give us your views. Your views will be helpful for other Kenyans. More than 1 million and also the other 50 million Kenyans will be here so that they can get what you are sharing. Make sure you give Kenyans what they want. Join the studio and become one of our guests today here in Africa 24. I'm going to share the link. I've shared the link already through the comment section. Join through the comment section there. Click that link and it will direct you to the studio and you will be ready to give your views about the current situation of the country of Kenya. We are having a lot of issues. The broad-based government has been formed. Some of the leaders are saying that this broad-based government is not going anywhere. Now we are having the broad-based government in place. Do you expect developments in the country, or we expect the development projects that are going to just stand still? Because the memorandum of understanding that was signed by the president and the ODM party leader Raila Odinga, it had a lot of things that need to be resolved, and how are they going to resolve it? What some of the Kenyans are looking forward to. So as you join this wonderful conversation, of course, my name is Boniface. You can join this studio through the link that I've shared there. Now we having a weekly recap here, and we have been seeing a lot of things taking place. And one of the things that is happening in this country is what we refer to as a spirit, or I don't think whether it's a spirit of confusion or it's just a matter of politics before we approach 2027. Because as we speak, we are having IBC not reinstalled, and we also have a broad-based government that is already in place. Having the broad-based government in place now, we expect developments to kick off immediately. But we are seeing members still relaxed. We're seeing a lot of things happening. We have seen the mountain has been neglected since Gachagua impeachment that took place. That is by the end of the last year. We have seen members who are very close to the former DP being cornered, and of course, we have seen what is happening in the parliament. We have seen the other day, Didi Nyoro, of course, he was cornered. He was dropped from that budgetary committee. That was his position, and now he is one of the close members who, of course, he has been so close to Gachagua, and now Gachagua he is one of the key members who have been making headlines in this country. Gachagua, since impeachment, of course, we have not seen him being reluctant when it comes to making sure the government delivers, because he was in the government and now he is not in the government. Now he's saying that his work is to push the government, is to inject. Actually, his main work nowadays is to inject. He is the current doctor. Kazi yake ni kuinject. Now we have a pro-government here, Leo Nyambaya. Nyambaya works in the government. And now I'm just here to just ask Leo, of course, since he joined the government, because personally, I never imagined that Leo Nyambaya will be changed and start supporting Kenya Kwanza government. But since Raila joined the government, Leo completely changed. And now he is a loyal follower. He is deep in the Kenya Kwanza government. He is working in the Kenya Kwanza government. And I used to have debates with Leo here when Kenya Kwanza took power in 2022. Now we are having broad-based government. I want Leo just to give us his own views and what he thinks if this country will grow, will develop in the next 2 years before 2027, or the broad-based government, as people are saying out here, it just came so that we can have Kenyan resources being vandalized because now they are greed of power. You know, they had that greed of power. Now they are in the power. Leo, tell us, what do you think about the broad-based government? Ni walienda pale kuchota pesa kama wewe uko pale kwa gava, ama ni kusaidia Wakenya?
Good evening, Boni. Can you be able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for this wonderful show. But I just want to start, let me start by welcoming our viewers for this show. I know people have joined us in various platforms. That is Facebook, YouTube, and all our channels. We are live, of course, in Afrique 24 Hour. We are live in Natembeya TV and partly Leo TV. So just a point of correction. I don't know why you're saying the Kenya Kwanza government. The government that we have, we can only have one government at a time. And the government that we have is called the government of Kenya. So these things called and whatever government, I think this kind of mentality is wrong. Let Kenyans know that we can only have one government at a time, and the government that we have currently is the government of Kenya. So the government belongs to Kenyans, and is a government that is given mandate by Kenyans through voting. Remember, Kenya is a democracy, and in a democracy, we normally say the majority will always have their way, while the minority will have their say. We did go to an election in 2022, and majority of Kenyans have voted President William Ruto as their president. And minority, I included, who are in Azimio, we had our say. So irrespective of how Ruto was voted, whether he won or he did not win, but constitutionally, the IEBC announced him as the winner. So whether it was disputed or something like that, we have to accept and live by that reality, something that maybe most of us never lived with. But when reality hits you, you have got no option. So stop wondering why I started maybe supporting the government of Kenya. It's simply because I came back to my senses and realized that there are some realities that we cannot change once a government has been in place, whether it is it was not done appropriately, but we have institutions. Kenya is a democracy and is a country that is being governed by law. So however much we shout, jump up and down, doesn't change things. So you're talking of the broad-based government. Yes, of course, all these people have been members of the government, irrespective of maybe their affiliations, because we've had government is having three arms. We are having the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. So whether you're elected in ODM, in Wiper, in Wamunyoro Party, independent, and you are an MP, you are part of government, you are part of the legislative arm of the government. And the role of legislators actually is to oversight the executive, to legislate and amend the laws that will finally be implemented by executive, irrespective of which side you are in. So there is no role that is reserved for members of ODM party or members of NAC or member. I don't think if NAC is having a member, sorry for that, or members of UDA. If you are a member of parliament, you have equal responsibility of legislating. So there's a notion that members of specific party should be the ones putting the executive on check or should be the ones opposing the government is neither here nor there. We are having a parliamentary, system of government, and in parliament we have parliament performing specific roles, irrespective of minority or majority. Their roles are to legislate. So the way an ODM MP or a Wiper MP or an independent MP or those other small parties I don't want to mention is oversighting the president is the same way a majority MP from UDA or from Kenya Kwanza should do. So opposing the bad policies and coming up with the good policies is not a reserve for ODM members of parliament, but is a reserve for all the MPs. So we should stop misleading people and telling people that, oh, you see, ODM joined the government. These people, they did not change. The only people who joined the government are people like Mbadi. And for them to join, they didn't join the government, actually. They changed from being legislatures to becoming members of executive when he stopped becoming an MP, Opiyo Wandayi and John Mbadi, and became the cabinet secretaries. And maybe the people who are not part of government and joined by government are Hassan Joho and Oparanya, who are not part of executive. They were never part of judiciary or part of legislature, but they now joined cabinet. So if you talk of people joining government, say that Oparanya and Joho joined government, but people like Mbadi did not join government. They're already there. They just changed from becoming legislators to becoming the members of cabinet. Then back to your question, I want to say that this thing that happened has really stabilized the country. It's evident that the stability since we went to the elections in 2022, you know, for an economy to be stable, it needs what is called a political goodwill. So the political goodwill lacked because there are some people who felt that they are not part and parcel of the government. They felt that they are still disappointed with the elections, that they are still grieving. But the moment they stopped grieving and they put aside their feelings and decided now to work together through what is called the broad-based arrangement, we've seen the country stabilize. And if we now go by numbers and facts and do away with the politics of rumors and the media portraying a country as a failed state or a country that is stagnant, it's a matter of fact that things are moving on well as far as our economy is concerned. And if we keep on this trend, I'm telling you, even the people who are complaining today, in the next 2 years, as people will be going for 2027 elections, they will say, Ruto, you need to have another 5 years so that you can complete the good work that you've started. If you walk around Boniface where you are, and your MP, Mama Dago, can tell you that the affordable houses are being built, they can tell you that the lending rates have reduced by about 4% if you go to equity, or this is because of the measures that have been put on by the Central Bank of Kenya. And they'll tell you that the food security is improving. People are buying fertilizers at a cheaper price, and we also thank God for the rains. And food is readily available. And for those ones who are in stock exchange, or the ones who are importing things, they'll tell you that our currency has really stabilized against the dollar. That is from last year. I think for the last 6 months, our currency have been exchanging at the rate of 127 to a maximum of 128. This is something that never happened in the first 2 years of in the first year of Ruto's regime, whereby the dollar, you will wake up and find it at 160, the next day you find it at 140. So we are seeing some positive changes, and we have to encourage it. People talk of the youth. Recently, you saw the other day when William Ruto reorganized the positions, the senior government officials, the PSs. You saw people like Fikirini. These are youth who just got out of Pwani University 2 years ago. So youths have been accommodated. We've seen experts being accommodated in this government. So we are moving on well, Bonnie. We are moving on well, and we pray that we keep on moving on well until those people who are opposing this government will lack something to say. Thank you so much.
Leo is saying that we are moving on well, and of course, youth have been accommodated when it comes to this Kenya Kwanza government. That's why he's saying that only those guys, those members who were outside the government now, the likes of Joe and also Paranya, are the ones who joined the government. But now we are having this issue, Leo. We are having this issue. The other day we saw Raila Odinga at the State House, and he was there, which, of course, his presence in State House raised a lot of concerns. Kenyans started wondering. You know, Baba has been hunting for this State House for long, but now he is in the State House. Whatever was signed there in the MOU, as the Secretary General read it, but of course we are not sure what happened behind the scenes. Now, Kenyans want to know, are they going to make Kenya grow, or they are just going to make Kenya remain behind? Because we are having issues still being raised in this country. Money is not being used well, and also it's not being distributed equally. We are having issues whereby, for example, you saw the other day when Baba joined, Gachagua friends, of course, now they have been cornered. You saw what happened in the parliament. Didi Nyoro was also cornered, and he was one of the best performing members of parliament. Of course, you have seen what is happening in the Kiaru constituency. He's performing well. So does it mean that even Baba joined the government so that he can also squeeze Gachagua followers? Because the other day I listened to Raila speaking, and he was saying that you were saying that I will not join the government. Now I am in the government, and you are at home. He was trying to put a joke inside his speech when he was addressing Kenyans. Does it mean that Raila joining the government also was to squeeze Gachagua friends and also Gachagua? Because as they speak nowadays, it's like there's something being cooked between Raila and Ruto. Leo, are you there? I think.
Okay. But first, I've always been telling you, let us learn to separate politics from reality. You are telling me that you saw Raila going to the State House. You know very well, State House, that is a public house. It belongs to all Kenyans. Anybody can walk in. Boniface, you are a journalist. If today you walk into State House, you'll tell me nobody will stop you there. And you've been there, if you've been going there to cover some stories. So that house belongs to Kenyans. So the only thing is that people have got some fear or some kind of ignorance that they think that they are not allowed to go there. So the State House belongs to the Kenya. Raila is a statesman, so he can walk in there anytime he likes. You've brought in the issue of Ndindi Nyoro. Ndindi Nyoro has served in the committee, that have been chair of the committee of budget and appropriation for long. And he's not the only Kenya who should chair that committee. It is not Raila who appoints members of committee. Of course, each and every political party sends members to that committee. Then after that, the committee members sits down and elects their chair. Raila is not a member of parliament. Raila was not even a member of the budget and appropriation committee. And if you reported it here, I'm sure you reported it here, that Sam Atandi, the MP for Lego, was unanimously elected in an election that even that Ndindi Nyoro himself participated. So it tells you that Ndindi Nyoro did not even vote for himself, but he voted for Sam Atandi. So why would you participate in an election and even he didn't even vote for himself, or he didn't even present himself to be voted? Then after that, you go out and tell people that you see Mimi Nilitolewa. So who removed him? This is somebody who was elected by the members. So we don't need to bring in Raila and anybody in something that was democratically done in parliament, and they gave us a report that we've unanimously elected this person. Whether what is called whipping took place, I don't want to talk on that, because that is a democratic process whereby if there's an election, you can whip your members and convince them to vote for a specific candidate, but you won't force them to vote for that specific candidate. So I want somebody to come out and tell me that, you see, Ndindi Nyoro presented himself and he was voted by majority, then ikakuja ikabadilishwa. So let us allow some change. There are so many Kenyans who can do that role. Let us see the person who's been put in that place. I think this is positive. This is positive. And you've also heard some claims that, you see, these people are, if these people were not enjoying some privileges as chairs of those committees, then why are they lamenting? If these committees did not give them some advantage over other members, then why are they lamenting? Something that doesn't help you, if it is taken away from you, you can't cry. So the louder they cry tells you that there's some privileges that they were getting that other members were not able to get, and they are not ready to let it go. So Raila did not join. Actually, he told Raila did not join government in any other arrangement. The MOU that was signed was an advancement of what was called the NADCO report. This is a report that gave the report of the findings that were done by the members of parliament. Remember, Kalonzo co-chaired that committee, and that is a fact. We saw people like Eugene Wamalwa. So they're the ones who came up with this report. So if you hear somebody like Kalonzo distancing himself from this MOU, and this MOU is going to implement a report that he chaired and came up with some proposals that, as Kenya, for us to move on economically, politically, and socially, we need to do this. And now Raila and Ruto have decided to sit down that now we want to implement your report. Then you go out hanging out telling people that this report is wrong, or this kind of arrangement. That one tells you the kind of leaders they are. So the last person who should be opposing this MOU is Kalonzo. Is the one who chaired the report, the 10-point agenda that ODM signed an agreement that now the report was there, but this thing has not been implemented because the goodwill is lacking. Now we want to implement it. Nobody associated to Gachagua has been pushed out. We saw what is called the restructuring of the government. Look at the parliament. People have been crying about the Minister of Health, this SHAN, this kind of things. Then now the president, or maybe whoever, decides that now, laws are made in parliament, and most of these discussions are done at the committees. The health committee, they give somebody who is an expert, who understands medicine. Dr. Nyikal is no doubt, he is an expert in that area. He's been practicing, actually, he's been actively practicing. He headed departments even at the World Health Organization. So they say now, because you are an expert, you know more about this health, we want you to chair this committee. Doesn't mean that he's the one who's going to be making sole decision. I would expect any Kenyan to clap for the president for giving, whipping his members to put Dr. Nyikal there. He did some restructuring. Look at somebody called Ouma Oluga. This is somebody who've been heading the medical practitioners and dentists, whatever, how do we call it? So he's somebody who's been leading the doctors on a strike, telling that the government, you need to do this and this. Then now he calls him. Because you've been striking, you've been saying that what we're doing is wrong. It seems you know something that we don't know. Now come and implement those things that you wanted the government to do. Isn't that one not something that we need to be proud of and say, now the president is now welcoming the critics and telling them, You are the ones who was striking, going to the Minister of Health and saying that, you see, the president, the government is not doing this. So for you to strike and say the government is not doing this, it means you have got some idea. So we now want to give you an opportunity to come and implement it. We need to clap for the president. Those people like Mbadi are the ones who are opposing the finance bill. So it meant they had some idea. Now the president is telling them, come and now do it. Do these things that you've been telling us, that you've been saying we failed to do it. So that is how smart the president is. You saw the restructuring. People have been complaining, oh, youths wameachwa, youths have not been included. Appears a youth have been put in charge of the youth affairs, and actually he is a youth, just fresh from the university. So who does that? Who calls his critics and gives them job? So what happened is something that is positive, and we should not allow the old guards who've been there, who've been doing things the same way, to divert our attention with some political rhetorics and some negative critics. Let us be positive and give this government time. I'm telling you, this government is improving day by day. Again, even the face of Kenya has been included in this kind of appointments and the restructuring that has happened. So we want a situation whereby we don't stop Dr. Nikal from chairing health committee based on his political affiliation, because his party is not a majority and he's an expert. So we cannot just put somebody who is clueless. You pick somebody like Sudi because he comes from a majority party and to give him a post where he knows nothing. So what Ruto is doing is what has been lacking. He's now bringing people and putting them at the right place, what they can be able to do best. So what we need to wait for are results. So the result doesn't come in a single day. And at the end of the day, these problems that we are complaining about, like unemployment, all these kind of things did not start with William Ruto. They are things that have always been with us. So we just need to give William Ruto time so that he can be able to sort out this mess. And after 5 years, he will give us his scorecard and tell us, I found inflation at this percentage. This is where I've pushed it. Yeah, I found our hospitals at this level. This is where I'll push it. And also have to say, you see what is happening? Like the entire Western Kenya never had a level 6 hospital. The entire Western Kenya, that is Nyanza, former Nyanza and former Western province. Now the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga referral hospital has been elevated to level 6, meaning the government, the national government will now be channeling resources there directly. So many things that have been lacking there. Those people from Kakamega, from Busia, from Siaya, Migori, Kisii will not have to go to Eldoret or to come to Kenyatta for certain services. So these are some of the things that we need to appreciate and say the government is doing well and we are moving on well, Bonnie. And as a media house, you need to enlighten people. And whenever the people stop giving people stories that are not making sense. The other day I had the deputy president telling Kenyans that, you see, shamba ya jela imeuzwa. No such kind of things should
That
be
is
created.
Wanalio kwanza before, you are pro-government,
Listen.
and I'm very sure you hata nikuatize kidogo, you are pro-government. And the other day, Gachagua, of course, his main work nowadays is saying that his work is now to inject. As you mentioned about level 6 hospitals that we have in the western part of Kenya. We are having a lot of areas being neglected. We are having a lot of issues being raised. And we know the other day, a doctor in Kenyatta Hospital died because, number one, he had no money. He served patients until he was sick. That 7-year-old doctor died because he had no money. And when he felt sick, he went to seek for help. And of course, they did not bother. That was someone who was serving Kenyans. And of course, he died on the line of duty. We having yesterday we had Angie here, and she was saying that we don't have this radiotherapy machine in Kenyatta National Hospital, and yet we had this reshuffling of the cabinet, whereby the likes of Susan Nakumicha were dropped. The other day we saw them. Susan Nakumicha being mentioned again to start working as an ambassador. There is something there. It's just like a circle. You just drop someone and then you bring him back. Ababu Namwamba was in the sports industry. Now he was taken to the ambassador job. We had Peter Trum. He was taken to ambassador job. It's like you just dropping for sometimes and then you reshuffle. You get another position. What is this kind of government? Are we going to improve by just recycling? What are you saying? We had Nakumicha. Now she has been brought back. What I say, Leo Bwana, this government is
Bonnie,
not
as you
making Kenya to
proceed,
improve, Bwana.
Boniface, what I know with you is that you are a sports journalist. That is a fact, and because of that, you understand a lot of sports. And to be specific, in football, you'll find that a team, you can have a team of like 38 or 30 or something like that players. And when you're having a game, you can have a team of 18 players, and obviously 11 will start the game, and the rest will remain as a reserve. So reserve, they are there. Note that when somebody gets injured, that's also another reason why you can be able to substitute a player. But they're also there so that you watch as a coach, you look at the game, then you look at what is missing. There is a point whereby you'll have to remove a defender and bring in a striker. It doesn't mean that defender is useless or that defender cannot play. It simply means that that specific game needed a striker. You can reassign. You're talking about Bonamamba sports and such kind of things. So you can do reassigning. So
also.
I'll get back to there. Nakumicha was given that position, and maybe it proved that she could not manage it. But that one did not mean she cannot manage other roles. So there's reassignment of roles. You don't.
What about Deborah Baraza was brought also into the Ministry of Health?
I'll come. There's some of things that people, I hear somebody saying that, you see, SHA is not working. People are going to the hospital and they cannot be treated. Can you tell these people how SHA is an insurance? How do insurance work? Insurance does not pay the doctors. Insurance does not buy medicine in hospitals. They don't pay the hospital bills. So the people who are bringing all this settlement are the private business owners or these people who own private hospitals. It is their role to ensure that their hospitals are equipped, the doctors are there, the nurses are there, the medicine is there. So when Boniface is sick, you will go there, you get treated. Then after that, they will go to SHA and claim that we've treated Boniface and the treatment was worth 5,000. Now pay us. If the insurance doesn't pay them, then they'll have to complain. But you cannot turn away or chase Boniface. Then you say, I'm chasing Boniface away because SHA is not working. How did you know it is not working and you've not rendered the service? How do you want SHA to pay you for the services that you've not given out? Then secondly, there's also a problem of overcharging. You are having malaria. Kenyatta Hospital will treat you malaria maybe with 2,000 Kenyan shillings. Then you want to go to Mugumo Hospital in Thika Road and they treat you the same malaria using the same medicine. Then they want to bill you 50,000 simply because it is being paid by insurance. So these are some of the ills that SHA is correcting. And those people who've been beneficiaries of rotten systems are the ones who don't want to let it go. They're the ones who are fighting the good progress that the country is making. So some of the things doesn't need to be politicized. We just need like somebody telling you there's no radio, whatever. These people are not sincere with you. What stops you from going to an hospital that is well equipped, and this hospital gives you treatment, and they go and claim that insurance that you've been paying? You cannot just sit at home. You've never visited an hospital. Some of you have not even registered for SHA, then you're saying it is not working. That you see, and it is not the role of the nurse to check whether it is working. The role of the nurse is not to check whether you're going to pay or you're not going to pay. Their role is to treat you. After treating, then they go and claim. So they cannot just look at you and say, oh, you had a lipa, SHA hit a lipa. So we know the right people that we need to blame. You're blaming the government where we should not blame them. Gypsy, good
no, Leo, you are not, you're saying you're blaming the government.
The same. Yes.
No, Leo, you're saying that you have not landed when I asked you about the new cabinet secretary for the Ministry of Health, because yesterday we had Haj here in the show and she was telling us she's currently at the KNH and she's having a kid who is suffering from cancer, and of course she was told that the radiotherapy machine that we have in Kenyatta Hospital is not working, so she should seek for opportunity to go in Eldoret and get treatment over there. And of course, this is a national hospital, and she's saying that.
Let me ask you, Bonnie, before you even proceed, I don't need, listen, Bonnie, you don't need to get much into personal stories. There are some stories that are just meant to defame the good things, and we cannot make judgment based on somebody's story that cannot be improved. So those are some of those stories are just for viewership, maybe to increase the viewership or maybe to drive some negative point. I want to tell you the reason. You cannot tell me that the radiotherapist machines are not working. How many cancer patients do we have in this country? How many cancer patients are admitted in Kenyatta even up to right now? But there are some things that some stories that people just create just to create some sense of I don't know, to portray some negativity. You cannot tell me how many cancer
Not
patients are there
negativity,
that have been.
because
Listen first. I'll respond to you. Then secondly, Kenyatta National Hospital is having a board. It is not managed directly by the Ministry of Health. There is a board that manages, with having a board chairman or a chair lady. So there are some things that needs to be addressed at that point. For example, we are having schools that are managed by head teachers. The role of the Ministry of Education is to send the capitation fee. So they've sent capitation fee to Nyamira Primary, and they've sent capitation fee maybe to Kevoi Primary in Ukambani. Then the head teacher or the board at the Nyamira Primary uses this capitation fee very well. Then the other one misuses the capitation fee. Do you go and blame the Minister of Education? So there's some of the issues that people maybe at the Kenyatta Hospital, the people in charge there, are just, these are the saboteurs who are just sabotaging the good things. And actually, these are the people that should be followed up to and weeded out, because they're the ones who are just sabotaging these things. Kenyatta is having a budget. So he needs to come and tell us that, you see, the government did not release this kind of money. The government did not need this. That is why we don't have the machine. But if the board is fully financed and they've failed to prioritize on what the patients did, then we cannot carry the blame and give to a cabinet secretary who is just a political figure there. Remember, in the cabinet, you're having the permanent secretaries and you're having people who are doing the real job. The cabinet secretary is just a political, these are political appointments. They represent the political authority of the ruling party. The next day you'll tell me that because you went, maybe somebody works in a government office and they failed to take tea, you're going to blame the president because the tea was not prepared. So we don't need to be petty.
Leo is saying that we don't need to be petty. I was just trying to give him one of the example, of course, whereby we are complaining. We have never, of course, we have seen people saying SHA is not working, and of course, most Kenyans, they are saying SHA is not working. Transitioning from SHA to NHF to SHA is a very difficult thing. We saw the other day, of course, President saying Masengeli, that is not Masengeli, that is Malulu Ijendi, money, of course, his hospital bill was paid by SHA. But we have not seen any Kenyan in the hospital saying that, of course, today I have benefited from this SHA, which is something that people can be proud of. Some of the sensitive ministries that we have in this country have been neglected. Ministry of Education have been neglected.
Somebody who is in hospital, Listen, Boniface, somebody who is in hospital undergoing treatment cannot say they benefited from SHA. SHA will pay the bills once you've been treated and discharged. So the problem that you also do as maybe a journalist or the media, you want to go and interview somebody who is on the bed receiving treatment, asking them about SHA. How will they know? At that time, they're not in their right state. Secondly, the insurance always does what is called compensation. They don't make instant payments. Initially, after being treated during the NHIF, they will just ask for your ID and tell you to sign somewhere. They will not even disclose to you the amount that they're going to claim. So those are the kind of discrepancies that are being done away with, that they don't want to be done away with. Right now, if you get treated, I'm speaking out of experience. My grandmother had some operations at Kijabe Hospital, and about 350K was paid. We only had to pay 10,000. You have to pay for some 3 months upfront. That amount was paid, and before the amount was paid, she received a text message. Those are the things that we need to appreciate. And what is happening? Most of these things are being politicized. You know, Bonnie, we've been in this industry for long. We've criticized the government for long, and we know how, to an extent, somebody can desperately go to tarnish good thing just to gain a political mileage. So let us stop listening to politicians. Let us listen to experts. Let us listen to policy implementers. Let us not get, you cannot get the right information from a politician who doesn't want you to register for insurance, so that whenever you are sick, you give them a call, they come and take photos showing how they paid your bill so that they can gain some political mileage. Somebody like Babu Owino will not tell you the right thing because they don't want you to get this insurance. Wanataka ile siku umekuwa mgonjwa akulipie bill apate credit. They will never table a bill to ensure that people learn for free, kwa sababu anataka kila siku awe anawaparade pale, anawapatia bursary ya 5,000 apate mileage. So don't listen to politicians.
Hey, don't listen to politicians. That is what Leo is saying. Don't listen to politicians. And also, Leo, now we are having also the Ministry of Health, one of the sensitive ministries that we have in the country. Doctors are on a strike. They have not been paid. If we don't have citizens, then who is the president going to lead? We don't have better health facilities. I've been watching one of the documentary that was done by one of the international media houses from northeastern part of Kenya. And personally, I have seen those areas are struggling. Does it mean that the president has never been to those areas, northeastern part of Kenya? And he was in Mandera recently. What is happening?
Just a quick answer. You don't even need to proceed with that. You've seen a documentary from Mandera. Mandera is a county, one of the 47 counties we have in Kenya.
No. That documentary is not only meant for Mandera,
listen,
but the entire.
Okay, I'll address you. Most of the places that you had that the health services are poor in places like Mandera. Mandera receives the equal, what is called, there is normally this allocation, equitable allocation that the national government does to counties. Mandera receives the same amount that Mombasa receives. But what happens? The difference is the people, this money lands in their hands. That governor of Mandera will rather bring the entire family to stay in Nairobi and leave the people of Mandera dying there. So it is not the role of the national government to go and deal with these hospitals that have been devolved. So the right question should be asked to the government of Mandera. Why is it that people are dying when there's certain level of hospitals that should be at the county level? The only thing that the president can be aware of is what is under the national level. Like currently, we can ask the president directly or the Minister of Health directly about issues surrounding Kenyatta Hospital, because that is a level 6 referral hospital. Issues surrounding Eldoret referral hospital, and issues surrounding Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Referral Hospital, which was just elevated a week ago. So secondly, listen, people have complained, it's true, about the Minister of Health. The president made radical changes. So let us give it time. It is not even a week. You saw the changes started from the floor of the House. They replaced the chair of health. They put somebody whom they believe is an expert in health and is going to come up with solution. Dr. Nyikal is there. You checked at what was done on the PS of medical department. They put Dr. Ologa. Dr. Ologa is not only up to the task, but he's one of the people who've been leading these doctors to strike. So he knows better why the doctors have been striking. So putting him there is strategically to get the solution. If you've been striking, it means you know something that should be done that has not been done. So now if they give you that an opportunity, we believe that that one is going to be solved. So I think with the kind of changes that were made in health, the president has got it right. So we need to give these people time. Then we'll ask them, why haven't you initiated these changes? Because we don't want to see any no more doctor strikes, because the person who was leading them in strikes are the ones who have been appointed now to be in charge of them, to provide the solutions. Don't you see this is the wise decision that the president have done?
Well, Leo, you say hey, Leo, is this the same Leo we were having discussion here back in 2022? Because I'm totally seeing a totally different person. But anyway, it's your side of story whereby you are supporting the government. But personally, I have not seen. I'm just talking from my own point of view. I've not seen anyone else supporting what this Ministry of Health is doing, from the national government to the county government. I've not seen anyone who has benefited from the share. I've not seen anyone who is proud of the broad-based government that we have in this country. We have seen people suffering because of the Kenya Kwanza government. When it comes to positions in the government, when it comes to supporting one side, when it comes to favoring one side, we have seen people suffering since 2022. We only have 3 years, but we have seen a lot of saga. We have seen people saying that this government should not be in position. We should get a new government. Now they joined the broad-based government, which is made by Raila Odinga. We have seen Junet Mohammed, who was having this usual voice that he imeenda. He is now in the government, of course, being composed. We saw what happened in Tete Taveta, that is last year. He was saying that mdomo ni yangu, siasa ni yangu. That one is absorbed. You go to Hassan Joe. Hassan Joe, of course, you remember him because what he was saying. Now he's in the government quietly leading the mining sector. Quietly. We have seen nothing that is happening since the Gen Z went to the street to complain about the ministries that we have, incompetent cabinet secretaries, about the finance bill. President listened to them, dropped the entire cabinet. He reshuffled. Now we are having cabinet also being reshuffled. We have the permanent secretaries being reshuffled. From the top ministries that we have, people are also saying that education system has not been considered. What is happening? Where is Junet Mohammed, whom we used to know? Where is Alias and Joe? Kama mbaya, where is he? Because whatever he has been saying when we were saying when he was outside the government is totally different from what he's saying. Does it mean that this broad-based government, they just come there so that they can get money and then they will go? Leo.
I'm getting you. And one thing, Gypsy Connor is saying that I've really changed. I hope you are not in those people telling us to sing Ruto. Gypsy, change is inevitable, and any human, anyone who doesn't change, it's only fools or a fool who doesn't change his mind. And what we know, politics is a reality, and doing things the same way and expecting different results is what is defined, or what defines insanity. What has happened is that ever since I was born, we've been seeing politics of opposition and opposing and disturbing the government. And this one has not changed anything for the last 60 years. So why should we keep on going for elections? And after every 5 years, we go for elections, then we start crying, we oppose any attempt that the government is trying to do, then expect things to change. So I think it is the right time that we who decided to support the government made the right decision that now we should not just be doing things the same way. Let us now do it differently and see if there will be change. Because why would we waste 5 years just saying Ruto must go, Ruto must go? If he tries to launch the road, we say, no, we don't want the road, we want food. If he will stop. If he tries to bring food, we say, no, we don't want food, we want water. So at the end of the day, the 5 years will be wasted. And it is not Ruto who is going to lose. It is we Kenyans who are going to lose. But why can't we just, for a moment, give him time and say, okay, now, implement that which you promised, then ask him questions after 5 years. That is what I'm actually doing. And of course, after 5 years, based on what you would have done, will determine whether I'll support him or I'll oppose him.
After 5 years, do you mean that he's going to win 2027?
I'm coming there. It will depend on what you've done. And so far, based on what is happening, there's something that are predictable. It's a matter of fact. I don't want to lie to you. And if there's anybody, still there's nobody who is going to beat William Ruto. And the only thing that he can do is to improve on the services so that he can win with the margin. The ones who are there are just there to tell us Ruto must go without giving us an alternative action that they will do, including the ones who are his deputies and could not do anything, are the ones who are now telling us that now they are better than William Ruto. So we cannot have a country like that. We want a country whereby when it reaches that time, don't tell us Ruto must go because he impeached you. Don't tell us Ruto must go because he sacked somebody from Mount Kenya. Don't tell us Ruto must go because I mean, we need to be objective. We need to be practical. The governments are in place to implement the policies, and these policies are made in parliament. You are asking, where is Junet? The people of Migori sent Junet to go and represent their interest. And if their interest was to ensure that they get the fertilizers and they're getting the fertilizers, they are satisfied. They did not send Junet to go and shout Ruto must go. If there is anybody who feels that what Ruto is doing is not right, they have their representatives in parliament. Somebody from Kiambu who feels that Ruto is not implementing that which he promised them, they have their MP in the name of Kimani Ichung'wah. They'll send Kimani Ichung'wah to go and do it. So opposing the president or opposing the executive is not a reserve for specific people. After all, Joho was not elected. Joho was a retired governor. So what do you expect? You expect somebody who is elected as a Alego Osonga MP to go and shout Ruto was go. That is not what the people of Alego Osonga sent him to go and do in parliament. So don't ask where is so and so. They used to oppose Ruto. Maybe that is what was on top of the things that their constituents wanted at that moment. But it seems their constituents have evolved and have realized that there is more than just shouting Ruto must go. There is more than just opposing without any facts or opposing without giving solution. And they've decided, like maybe the people from my community have decided that we've been opposing these things for the last 60 years and nothing has been changing. At the end of the day, we are the ones who remain poor. At the end of the day, we are the ones whose roads remain undone. Now, can we try to give this person ample time? Is it paying? Yes, it is paying. Some of the roads that were stuck can now be done, and there's a lot of things that are happening. So we need to do our politics differently. We don't want a situation whereby William Ruto will come and say, I did not manage to do this because whenever I tried to build the affordable houses, mulipinga. Yeah, so you see, that is what happens for people who want to get, for the people who are in opposition negatively, they always pray that the government fails so that they get relevancy. But if you want to be moral and sincere enough with the citizens, we'll pray for the government to succeed so that when it comes to next election, we give better alternatives. But somebody who wants to win elections easily will pray for the government to fail so that automatically they become an alternative. We don't need an alternative. We need a better alternative. We want somebody who will come and say that William Ruto built a dual carriage road. We now want to build what is called a super highway. But we don't want somebody to come and say, William Ruto did not build a single road. We now want to build for you roads. That is what people like Gachagua are doing and like Kalonzo. They want the system to fail so that they get relevancy. They don't want the system to work so that they raise the bar higher. So let us stop listening to politicians. That is what I can tell you.
Hey, pro-government official here in Afrique 24. Make sure if you are joining us here for the first time, this is Afrique 24 social media platforms, Afrique 24 political discussions that happens here every day at 10 p.m. East African time. So if you're following us from other social media platforms, make sure you subscribe to Afrique 24. That is Afrique 24. That is our social media platforms and the YouTube channel. We only request you to support us through our subscription. And make sure you have a date with us every 10 p.m. East African time as we discuss more about politics in this country. Now we are having a pro-government official worker here, Leo Natembeya. Of course, he's trying to defend the government, but we are trying to slam him because we have seen a lot of Kenyans complaining about the current Kenya Kwanza government. Yeah, Leo, you are saying that there's no one who is going to beat William Ruto when it comes to 2027 because he might be very strong for 2027 since he is in power. But you don't know what the Gen Z are cooking. The Gen Z are cooking something that is totally different because they are going to vote when it comes to 2027. And they are going to decide on who is going to become the president of the Republic of Kenya. Do you think that Gen Z are going to vote for William Ruto when it comes to 2027? Or they are going to give their vote to another leader? Because the number of Gen Z that we have in this country is almost 20 million. So if they're going to vote for another leader apart from William Ruto, with other elder Kenyans, then you are very sure that the millennials, Gen Z, they are going to make a new leader in this country. And whatever you are saying for the next 5 years, you will be here in 2027 crying as we wait to analyze the politics after another leader wins.
Bonnie, you are getting like you're dreaming too much, and you're becoming funny. I've just had people telling us that, you see, the Gen Zs. Of course, Gen Z. When you talk of Gen Z, it is not a political movement. Why do we call them Gen Z? It is an age group. That's a fact. It's an age group. So generalizing an age group and associating them with a certain political faction or a certain political movement is in itself illegal. And I want to say this is a fallacy. I've heard you just mentioned that there are about 23 million voters. I don't know the last time you checked the register. So you cannot count your eggs, is it your chicks before they hatch? So telling us the Gen Zs are 23 million, and if you check the register, that is far away from the truth. So who tells you the ones who are in that age group are going to register? Though I don't want to get into that. Secondly, every Gen Z, that age group that you see, belong to a specific voting block or a specific voting identity. I say it, and I will keep on saying it, that in each and every political setup, there's what is called a political identity. A political identity is what politicians, the voters, and the members of the society identify themselves with. Save for the countries like the United States of America, which is an immigrant country, by fact, their political identity is uniquely different from the ones we have in Kenya and in Africa, because there's an immigrant country. There's nothing like tribes. They're purely immigrants. And despite being immigrants, you still hear of red states and blue states. So even if a cat contests in a red state against an intellectual, the cat who was a member of the Republican will obviously win. Let us get back to Kenya. What we need to ask ourselves is, what is our political identity? So the leader who understands that wins the election. And that is why we lost, whether it was fair or unfair, to William Ruto, because he understood that one very well, our political identity. In Kenya, our political identity is, and in the next 50 years, will remain tribes. Unless we reach that religious threshold that we'll start having a political identity between Christians and non-Christians. We are not yet there. So identity in the next 3 elections will still be tribe. So why am I saying that? Every Gen Z that you see in the streets or on the screens or on online, at the end of the day, goes back to their political identity, which is called the tribe. That is why the Gen Zs, during the day, you saw them on the street saying Ruto must go, Ruto must go. But at night, they went back to their political identity. You never saw anybody on the street when Raila Odinga distanced himself from that demonstration. So those Gen Zs from Raila's political bloc decided to retreat. And the Gen Zs from the other political bloc of Wamunyoro and the rest, they remained on the streets. And it turned out that Raila's political bloc overpowered them because they are the majority. That is why even up to date, you cannot see those Gen Zs on the streets. And if they go on the streets, the ones who are opposing them are not the old men. They are the same Gen Zs. So picking that age group and putting them in one basket and hoping that they are going to propel you to power is a dream that I don't know how I can describe it. That is madness of the highest order. I've seen some bright and politicians with some greater future being lied to and buying that idea. I can tell you, people like my friend, somebody I once admired and really campaigned for, Babu Owino. I know he's a wise man. He will learn and change. People like Edwin Sifuna, they will go off-road. That is fallacy. Let nobody cheat you. Bonfaz, ikifika ile time kama unakwanga ni mtu wa Kalonzo Musyoka, you will get all the Gen Zs will follow him, the Gen Zs from his political bloc. I don't know the political bloc he is having. So that is the fact. So 2027, I've not seen anybody who is going to beat Ruto. I know politics change. Maybe it might change in the last time if people get serious. But one thing that I can rule out, that there's going to be nothing called Gen Z voting. The Gen Z's votes will percentage count as the normal votes. They have their political identities. So let nobody lie to you. Our political identity still remains to be tribal. And Ruto is calculating on that. That is why he's making inroads in Western and Nyanza. And if you are aware that they've also told you that some of the census that have been done has shown that we've been having some fake numbers that have been ballooning the numbers in Central. So if that one is corrected and William Ruto gets it right in Western, in Nyanza, and inherits the Raila's block that is across and beyond Kenya, I'm telling you, by 8 a.m., the elections will be done. That is a fact. Let us not lie to each other. And this one will also be coupled with the good work that he's promising to do in the next 2 years.
Msikilizaji, mtazamaji wa Freak 24, tuko hapo na Leo Nyambaya, a pro-government official, and he is trying to defend the government, saying that the government of William Ruto is going to deliver for the next 2 years so that they can get the election. He is also saying that 2027 is going to be a tough time since William Ruto is in power, and of course he's trying to say the Gen Z, they are going to follow their direction. But one thing I'm very sure is that 2027, the Gen Z and people of Kenya, they are now awake. They're going to vote for a leader who is going to change the situation of this country. So we are not aware who is going to be the president by 2027, and maybe we can get
Bonnie,
no,
just I mean, let me ask you, who, I don't know the part of brain that tells somebody that the Gen Zs are going to vote against Ruto, and the same part of brain cannot tell them that Gen Zs are going to vote for Ruto. I want us to think in that direction. Okay, the Gen Zs are majority. So who tells you that they're not going to vote for Ruto? What if those Gen Zs are the ones who are going to vote for Ruto and the rest of us are going to vote against Ruto? As a matter of fact, who are the majority of the people who voted for William Ruto by age? The same people are calling Gen Zs. They're the ones who campaigned for Ruto. By that time, they had not realized that their age group is called Gen Z. They were calling themselves Atupangwangu and such kind of things. So politics is about hesabu. We live in Africa. We are in Africa. And even the most democracies that we have in the world have not yet reached that point. I see people trying to compare Kenya with what is happening in the countries in Western Africa. Is it the Gabon, or those are countries where we are having that soldier, the military? Those are countries that we are having the military coup. Like, military coups cannot happen in a country like Kenya. We were colonized by British, and such kind of things can only happen in fragile countries. A mature democracy like Kenya, we cannot have such kind of nonsense happening. So let us not dream too much. What we need to do is, let us see those people who want to campaign against William Ruto, they can get better ways of campaigning, or they can bring together their ideas and ensure that William Ruto steers this government as per the wish of majority of Kenyans. It is not all Kenyans. Of course, no government is always popular. The governments are never popular because people's expectations are always high, and satisfying these expectations is really a problem. And for a matter of fact, I know William Ruto will retire as president. That is in 2032. I don't know. I don't want to talk of unless otherwise, but chances are high. His chances of retiring in 2032 are higher than his chances of having a one term. He is also calculative. Right now, he's not doing politics, but when the right time for politics comes, I know him. He's ruthless with the microphone. You know, nobody can beat William Ruto on top of the cars. If now he says that now getting back to the rooftops and I now want to do politics, that man is ruthless. We saw him in 2022. So we cannot just sit down and think that he's somebody that we are going to beat like that. So the political forces that we have in this country are all aligned towards him. So the forces that are yet to be created will not make as much impact as such. Just like when Ford Kenya was created in 1992, you know, that is the year that people thought that the change is going to be there. Of course, there are some minimum changes. I'm not dismissing the changes. There are some changes that are going to be there in our political landscape, but it is too early. It is too premature for you to dream that they are going to get us the next president. Their influence is going to count. It never happened in 1992. It is not the first time we are having younger generations. The 1992 was the same as what we're experiencing now. It happens after every like 20 years in a country, or after every 10 years in a country. We had the younger James Orengos, the Karoas, the Paul the Gitobu Imanyaras. They were there. They pushed, but it took them another 10 years for them now to influence the elections in 2002. So for the Gen Z's effect will be felt for the first time in 2032. You can take that one to the bank. But in 2027, nothing, and I can tell you, nothing is going to change. So if they keep on pressing and get something that they can identify with, something that can fit in Kenyans' heart, then in 2032, when there is a regime change, they might have a hand in that change. But in 2027, just like Ford Kenya tried in 1992, it did not happen. They went to 1997, did not happen until they got a breakthrough in 2002. So the only breakthrough that we'll get that breakthrough in 2032. That is when, if they stick and they become objective, they'll have an influence. But in 2027, forget about it. Don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time in 2027. Leo is saying that 2027, don't waste your time. But we are having coalition being formed. We are having Martha Karua, we are having Kalonzo Musyoka, we are having some of the members, the likes of Kima, of course, the likes of Matiang'i. Matiang'i is being identified as one of the top candidates when it comes to 2027, who can bring a lot of threats when it comes to winning 2027 general elections, apart from William Ruto. So Matiang'i is in the ballot. Kalonzo Musyoka, of course, Gachagua, he has not given us his next step. And you have realized that Gachagua, when he was in the government, he was not familiar. Like today, when Gachagua walks even around this Kinyanjui Road here, then you will see anyone else coming out to see Gachagua and listen to what he is saying, because he has been injecting the top secrets that we have in the government. The other day we heard that one of the parastatals that we have in the countries has been solved. We don't have the bombers of Kenya. We're having all leaders. Yes. And Gachagua, he was saying that he was impeached. Of course, he's not talking because of anger issues, but he said that he was impeached because he was saying the truth, and most of things that were being proposed when they had the meeting, then he could not agree with them because they were going to pressure Kenyans. Does it mean that even those who join the government also they are going to pressure Kenyans? Because that is what Kenyans, of course, they are optimistic for, that we are going to be pressed by broad-based, and also any leader will come in. So that is why we will have a change in 2027. Speculatively, things might change in 2027, and we have one president serving for one term and then go home.
Boniface, I don't know why you're behaving as if you're just born in Kenya today, telling me that Gachagua is injecting and opposing the government. I think I don't know how
so Leo, you
let me ask
so Leo,
you. I want to give you an example. After the 2013 elections, when Raila and the NASA was it NASA or not the NASA, but the CORD were in opposition. These guys spent 4 years not only opposing the government, they were having rallies. Forget about Gachagua, who waits for the church service to go and address people, or buys the Nation newspaper, goes through the obituaries to see who is going to be buried where, so that he can go and get a microphone. The CORD team, led by Raila and people like Moses Wetangula, they even had money and funds. They moved across the country, mobilizing Kenyans, inciting Kenyans against the government. Remember the Okoa, whatever referendum and such kind of things. It never worked. So you want to tell me somebody who sits, watches the death and funeral announcements, buys newspapers specifically to go to the obituaries to check on who is going to be buried where, so that he can get an opportunity to attend the funeral and get a microphone and speak to already gathered a crowd, or waits when there is a traffic jam in Kitengela or a traffic jam in Githurai to go and get on top of the roof to attract. Really?
You mean that that crowd that came in Kitengela when Gachagua was there, they were just people moving around?
I can tell you, even you today, go to Kitengela and get on top of the roof, the crowd will be there. No, my friend, these are things that you think that can threaten the government that is in place. I'm telling you, that is why I look around and I say that nobody's replacing Ruto, because the people who are there are jokers. The people who are there are jokers. Raila, after losing the AU seat, within a week, he was in 28 out of 47 counties. He organized a meeting and you saw it. Kalonzo, kama hajakuwa Kitengela, ako kanisani ama ametafuta mtu ana wedding. Nowadays he likes attending the weddings. I don't know where he gets the intels. Anaenda kwa wedding. If he's not in church, he's attending a wedding, ama amepatikana na excuse ako na more press conferences and such kind of things. So these are the people you want to tell me that are giving government injecting. There's some things that we need to separate. It's not time for politics, but when time for politics will come, I'm telling you, they'll meet with the real politicians. And I'm sure, as William Ruto is going to manage the government, he will delegate the political part to Raila and his team. So Raila will lead the political wing, and William Ruto will be busy working in the office, giving services to Kenyans, and Raila will lead his political team. Then when he will finally finish sometime back around January 2027, now he will put on the campaign suit and get on top of those cars. You'll not believe, just as Gabriel Oguda says, you'll not believe.
Freak 24 political discussions here, and we are having a very hot discussion here as we try to speculate on what is going to happen in 2027, on what is going to cook when it comes to 2027. Are we going to get a new president, or the other candidates who are going to vie for the presidency seat in 2027? They're going to be defeated by William Ruto. We have Gachagua, of course, he has not said what he wants. We have Martha Karua, we have Kalonzo Musyoka, we have Freddy Matiang'i. We also have Wanjakoya, of course, and other members who are going to come out in 2027. Now, there was these rumors that Raila will be in ballot 2027 so that he can confuse the Gen Z, and this confusion now will make William Ruto win the election directly. Baba will be in the ballot 2027?
I think there's one thing. There's one thing that I keep on telling those people who want to beat Ruto. As long as they are still seeing Raila's ghost or Raila's shadow, they are fighting a wrong battle. Currently, most of them are busy criticizing Raila. They are talking more of Raila, and they've forgotten that Raila is not among the competitors. So they are directing all the political energy in opposing and fighting Raila, saying Raila this and Raila that, and forgetting that their main opponent is William Ruto. Right now, even if you give them the microphone, they've not yet realized that they are fighting some invisible shadows. And Raila, as they call, Raila is mysterious. He keeps on changing. When we think that he is done, then he will always find a way of resurfacing and getting relevancy. I don't know if he will be on the ballot, but what I know is that he will still determine the political maybe direction in this country. whether we'll be on the ballot or will not be on the ballot. Because what has always been happening is that there are people who always wake up. People wake up to vote for two things. There are those people who always wake up to go and vote for Raila, and there are those people who always wake up to go and vote against Raila. And most people you see in parliament, I can tell you 90% of them are beneficiary of Raila's presence in politics. So for you to be elected, you either have to support Raila or oppose Raila. There are regions where when you want to be elected, you have to support Raila, and the strength you use in supporting Raila will get you automatically elected. And the regions that for you to be elected, you have to oppose Raila, and the energy you put in opposing Raila will get you elected. So Raila is still a political factor that nobody can wish him away. So the only way that people would have wished him away was to allow him to exit the local political scene by going to AU. And I think the gods did not want that one to happen, and he came back to haunt the very people who opposed his election at the AU. They're the ones who are being haunted by the fact that Raila lost than anybody else. And he will keep on haunting them even in the next general elections. That is what is going to happen. Because these guys, I even had one telling Raila that, you see, we can make you president in 2027. You have to contest this. Is it called the new Tuoro? I'm forgetting his name. A certain senator from, is it Muranga or where, are trying to blackmail him to contest. So we don't know if he contests, whether he contests or he doesn't contest, William Ruto stands to win. If he contests, of course, those people who are opposing Ruto will wake up to vote against Raila. So by voting against Raila, it's either they'll have to vote Ruto or they'll fail to vote Ruto. Ruto will have to win. That one if he contests. If he doesn't contest, obviously, those people who've been voting him will be voting Ruto. That is a fact. Tell me anybody, people will be able to vote here.
We so have... Those are... Yes. We have...
The number of people are there. When you want to understand politics, there's some things that people can joke around with and play around with, but there's some things that are so deep that we need to be... Politics itself, first of all, the Kenyan politics, I think we rate higher in the African politics as far as the commercialization is concerned. So our politics is so commercialized. So the people who carry the day are, number one, the people who have got some money to run the politics. So these guys, you see, like Kalonzo cannot be able to run politics. So there are people who will depend on some investors to come and sponsor. And for these investors to sponsor your political movements, number one, you must have got some proof. They must see some future in you. You've seen so many people have been sponsoring Raila's campaigns, people like SK Machera. Why do they do it? They know that this is somebody that even if he doesn't win, he will still have some influence, whichever time you call it blackmail or whatever, but he'll still have some influence that will make them benefit. So let me ask you, which investor would want to invest his money in Kalonzo to become the president?
A lot, Bwana. A lot.
How? That is the only person who invested in Kalonzo was Gideon Moi. He's the only one who will come. So when you are a businessman, you want to invest. You've heard that Raila even get investors from abroad, people like the Adanis or whatever. Why do they invest in you? You only invest in a place where you know you can reap. You know this person can win. And if he doesn't win, he still has got some force that can enable you to recover the finances that you used in him. Raila will still be supported by some organization or some individuals, even when in what is people call opposition, because they know he will still blackmail. He will still, there's some buttons that when he presses, the people in government will have to listen to him. But the people will not waste your money in. I've told you one of them is Gachagua. Why would I waste money in Gachagua? Somebody who looks for obituaries to know where their funeral so that he can be able to get a microphone to speak. That is the only place he can address. If he's not addressing a funeral, then he's addressing a wedding or he's addressing people stuck on a traffic jam. The same to Kalonzo. Currently, he goes to these photo studios to check on who is wedding. He checks on these WhatsApp groups to know that he can be able to attend the weddings and the baby showers. So these are the people that you're telling me want to compete with William Ruto. Guys, let us not joke Let us not take those jokes. And even the people you thought are coming to rescue you, people, I heard some people, Mzalendo is good is here. He really told us how Morara is the best thing that has happened in this country, apart from
Zalendo, washa
having a
camera
Kenya
bwana.
superhighway. But what happens? That guy is now identifying with what I told you is called the political identity. Morara Kibaso is now identifying himself with Mamunyoro. Rigathi Gachagua is not representing himself. Rigathi Gachagua is a political identity of the Mount Kenya. Whether he is elected or not elected, he's the face of the Mount Kenya political identity. People like Kasumwel, who were so vocal and we thought are the ones who are going to become the next senators, also decided to identify with certain political identities. The political identity, the only one that is never tribal, that is normally Raila, is the face of Jaramogi. And of course, most people who praise Raila, some people will argue that he has got nothing in his name, but he's riding on the image of his image and the shadow and the spirit of his father Jaramogi. The same way anybody coming from the central, they will have to identify with the spirit and the shadow of the Mau Mau. So that is the Mount Kenya. That is the political identity on that edge, on that area. You had to identify with Mau Mau so that they believe now you are one of us. The same way when you come to Jaramogi, Jaramogi's image will unite those people from the lake, the ones from Western, the ones from Coast, and that is an identity that will always be there.
That is an identity that will always be there. And of course, Leo Nyambaya is a pro-government official here. He is trying to say that it's going to happen in 2027, President William Ruto gaining power for the second term. Mzalendo, you have listened to Leo. Of course, Leo is saying that 2027 will be a walkover. He's saying that no one else can invest to other members of this country who are going to vie for president seat, the likes of Kalonzo, the likes of Morara Kebaso, Gashagua, Karua, Matiangi. They only believe with what Raila Odinga is doing. So if not for Raila, then it's for William Ruto. Mzalendo, do you see future for William Ruto? Of course, Leo is telling us Ruto will lead until 2032.
Anyway, good evening and good morning to those who are in the morning, and good afternoon to everybody who is watching us from all over the world. But anyway, I don't know why you listen to Leo, because Leo is one fellow who has been losing these elections, and his predictions have always been wrong throughout the time I knew him. Right from 2022, when he was in government, and said that now they have the system and the deep state, but they still lost the elections. Then they came the UAUC. He was on the other side, and he still lost election. Today, when Ruto, when Leo is on the side of Ruto, I can tell you that is a losing side. Any day that this side is going to lose, and these are very simple mathematics. Forget about what they are jumping out up and down, talking about. Oh, they have the numbers. The tyranny, we know where the tyranny is. If you see the people of Kenya, those who voted for William Ruto, in like myself, who participated and supported William Ruto, like myself, have jumped ship. I can tell you there are many of us in his own backyard that have also jumped ship. Is he gaining? In politics, you look at the maths. Is the maths adding up, or is the maths mathing? Raila Odinga, who has joined William Ruto, is he as popular as he used to be in the days? The answer is no. His popularity has dwindled. And is he gaining? I think he's not gaining anything politically. What is he hiding in Ruto's basket? There are people who supported Raila Odinga to form government and not to join government. They voted for him in the view that he will be the alternative government. And if he's not the alternative government, then he will be he will have the strongest. Ruto will have the strongest opposition in parliament. But today, what we see, that mixture of hiyo mchanganya hiyo githeri mbosho, githeri sijui nini, everybody is inside. That delicacy, even if you eat it, kesho unakimbia kuara. Ukule manifesto ya Raila kidogo, ukule manifesto ya Amani Congress, ukule manifesto ya Ford Kenya, ukuja ya UDA. These are leaders who are not principled at all. And whatever they are doing is unconstitutional. And they know it. That is why they can't really peg it on anything. This is not 2007 when we had post-election
Mzalendo, just
violence.
a minute. I just want to cut you short. I'll allow you to finish. I know it's a long discussion. We can't finish now, but I just want us to go point by point. You know, I don't want a situation whereby we allow lies and hearsay to proceed for long without being corrected. So I want us to go point by point, and then with that, we'll be having some meaningful conversation. First of all, I want to start by telling you, you've told us we lost in 2021, such a thing. There was one thing that is constant, that Raila is the one who was vying. And I'll just, for the sake of pleasing you, I'll agree with you that Raila has always been losing, and that is why he even lost in AU. But on the flip side, Ruto has never lost, so that one will still remain constant. So if I go by your belief and your theory, Raila lost because he's been losing. He lost in 2017, he lost in 2022, and he lost in AU. And Ruto has not been losing. So the thing will still reflect. Ruto will still have to win 2032. Away from that, you've talked of something of the people who've left Raila. And I want to make it clear that all these years that Raila has been contesting, there have been people from his community. Though I'm not saying that Raila has been leading a specific community, you'll also agree with me that Raila's party and Raila, whom I told you, might not be riding on his base, but he's been riding on the face of Jaramogi. He's been riding on the shadow and the spirit of Jaramogi, on Jaramogi's name. So the political identity of Jaramogi, which was inherited by Raila, has always been having a face of Western, a face of Coast, a face of his Luo community, and some parts of the Northeastern, like the Turkana, and majorly parts of Nairobi. So there are those people from his, I want to speak specifically of his community, the Luos, you included. There are those ones who've been opposing him, even when he's been running, even in his prime time, 2007. People like you. So those are the same people who are opposed to him joining Ruto. The same people joined Ruto not because they liked Ruto. People like you. You supported Ruto, of which you did not vote for him. You have to make it clear you did not vote. I can confirm that. You supported Ruto not because you loved Ruto. You supported Ruto because you hated Raila, and that is evident. Immediately Raila joined the Ruto that you supported, you immediately dropped Ruto. Why? The hate is constant. The hate in Raila. So listen, I'll tell you, there's nothing that you want to tell me you want to compare Raila's popularity. We will compare Raila's popularity when he will say he wants to vie for election. Raila's popularity cannot be compared when he assumed as a private citizen seat. Somebody like Gachagua has been reduced to a private citizenship, but he's given himself what is called the people's opposition. That is why you can compare his popularity to people like Kalonzo. But Raila is neither the people's opposition leader, he's neither a presidential candidate or a president, a cabinet, or an MP, but he's a private citizen. So you compare Raila's popularity with yours or Boniface's popularity because you are at a specific level. I think you can proceed.
I want to ask you a question, and you need to be very honest with me. When somebody smashes your wife for a night, does your wife become does he become the husband?
I want to ask a question again.
I am asking you. Your wife has gone somewhere, and then somebody sneaked out with her, and they have a good time with her, and then then the person comes out. I even nowadays sleep with this guy's wife. Does that guarantee that person as now the legally married guy to your wife? Now this
I think the question. Listen,
now let me tell you. Let me just finish. Raila has stolen something that doesn't belong to him. All right. This is something that doesn't belong to him, and he's enjoying and bragging to people that nowadays I have Gachagwa's wife, and I'm enjoying. Listen. These people did not vote for William Ruto to join hands with Raila Odinga. They didn't vote for that. William Ruto did not come to the people and ask them, the people who voted for him or the people who supported him, that do you think it is necessary for me to get into an engagement with this bill?
I
No,
want
no,
to
no.
give you.
I
Just a
gave you
minute.
your
You asked a
time.
question.
Now
Let me
you
answer
see,
you.
you.
Just a minute.
I will give
Just
you
a
your
minute.
time. I will.
One
You
minute
cannot
answer.
interject me twice and you continue,
But
Mr. Leo. Let
you've
me
asked a
finish my
question.
point. Let me execute my point. Then you can come
Check on
in.
Hillary. Okay, I'll tell you a quick answer. You were in America, and I want to tell me the president who was elected and appointed the very people who opposed him in his cabinet. Elections
Who is that?
are meant. Listen, elections are meant to elect somebody. Then after this election, I'll just a minute. After the election, you are having an election whereby
don't give
half
me.
of the country.
Hey, Leo.
Listen, half of the country opposed to you. Then as a wise leader, you need to sit down and say, this half of the country, we cannot move without them. There's something that they believe this person can do that I cannot do. What is wrong with getting to that person and say, you are opposing me? Like what president did recently. Ologa has been leading strikes against the Ministry of Health. So that means he believes there's something that the Ministry of Health is not doing that should be done. So what is wrong with inviting that person to come and give that solution that you've been advocating for? I think that is the wisest thing. That is the maturity. And that is what is called democracy.
Okay. All right. Anyway, don't put democracy in your sentence, because that is not democracy. That is killing democracy. When William Ruto is inviting everybody who opposed him into his government, is killing democracy. That is not the spirit of 2010 Constitution. This is what we call collaboration. Collaborating with people who opposed you to kill the people who are supposed to oversight you. So in government, there are people who are supposed to oversight the government of the day. Let me tell you, and you being a supporter of Raila Odinga, you cannot have it all. This cake, you cannot be in the opposition and at the same time be in government, serving your people. You cannot criticize William Ruto at the same time support the bills that he's sponsoring in Parliament. This is a fraud to the people of Kenya, who are actually sponsoring the political parties. This is the biggest fraud. And William Ruto is taking us to the days when we had one party rule. And for one simple reason why we promulgated the 2010 Constitution is because we wanted representation. We wanted oversight in the executive. We did not vote for the 2010 Constitution.
What is the role of the parliament? No.
The role of parliament is to oversight the executive.
Who are the members of parliament?
The members of parliament are the elected leaders from various constituencies in Kenya. We have the minority, the majority, and the minority in parliament.
Do we have the members that are supposed to be opposing and supporting is based on what is brought on the table, on the floor of the parliament?
Yes, they are called. Listen, when William Ruto was campaigning, this is what he said.
Finished. Listen, wait a minute. Our constitution, the role of the parliament, all members of parliament has got equal duties, whether you are elected.
You are okay, fine. You are going to the constitution. Tell me in which constitution of Kenya which powers does William Ruto have in the constitution of Kenya to appoint all political parties into his government?
Okay, I'll get you. Which political parties?
Just give me. If you are talking about the constitution, let's talk about the constitution.
the constitution allows the president to appoint members of cabinet, and the members of cabinet should not be members of legislature. So meaning if we appoint you today, you first of all to resign as a legislator. When he appointed Opiyo Wandayi, who was an MP, he had to resign as an MP. The constitution allows that. So you should come here and tell us that we having an ODM member of parliament who is also the cabinet secretary. I don't want us to speak from the point of ignorance. I want us to put the politics aside. Listen, let us be logical and realistic. If you are appointed as a member of cabinet, I'll even refer, it is not Ruto who've done it. When we lost the cabinet for internal security, there was a sitting member of ODM called Nkaiseri. Nkaiseri was appointed in that position. He had to resign as a member of parliament and became the cabinet secretary. So nobody is tagged. The president does not have the power to appoint people only from the members of UDA. The constitution says that a member of parliament cannot be a cabinet. You cannot be member of executive and you're also a member of legislature. The same constitution says that the MPs have got equal role legislating, making and amending laws. And in parliament, if you are a member of UDA and there is a bill that you feel is not good, nobody says that because you are in UDA and you are in a ruling party, you have to support it. So if a member of parliament opposes or supports a wrong bill, that is on the personal volition, and maybe it's in the interest of the people who sent him there. So telling us that the Ruto has controlled parliament or has, I think that one is just a political say that doesn't have any basis. Mzalendo has ran away. Bring him back.
No, Mzalendo has kimbia. Mzalendo cannot run away. I'm very sure he is working on that.
Amekuja hapa na uongo. He knows very well that he is lying. He knows very well that currently we are having minority and majority. With
Mzalendo umekimbia.
All MPs have got equal roles. He is lying.
Hey, Leo is saying that Mzalendo is lying, but Mzalendo, I'm very sure that he will be back. Mzalendo is lying. Mzalendo hawezi kimbia bwana. Na hawezi akadanganya.
No, he is speaking lies. He is speaking lies. I know. Mzalendo, stop lying.
All right, Leo. Sorry for that. I'm actually driving, but I think it is time that we correct things straight. Leo, what you have said is correct. The president, there's no provisions in the 2010 constitution that does not allow the president to appoint members who have been elected from the other side, so long as they resign into his cabinet. But what I'm trying to tell you, again, the same constitution promotes multi-party democracy. In the spirit of multi-party democracy, the executive ought to be checked by the minority in parliament. That is the role of the minority. We cannot have a parliament that...
Read for me.
The
executive is checked by the legislature. An arm of government is checked by the other arm of government. We're having three arms. One is to check the executive and the judiciary. Judiciary's role is
what is the role of your member? What is the role of your member of parliament in parliament?
The role of my member of parliament, of course.
Mr. Boni, you can Google there, check the role of members of parliament and read it for us.
Listen, I want to...
The role of member of MP in parliament.
I want to tell you, you don't even need to Google. These are things that you need to have at your fingertips. The first role of an MP is to legislate. Number two is representative. They represent the interests of the people who voted them. So if your people voted you to go and shout Ruto must go, you are at your own liberty to do that. If your people voted you to go and support bills that are increasing taxes, that is your role, representation. Another role of the parliament is to check on the executive That is what they do. Apart from making and amending these laws, they need to check on the executive wholesomely. It is not a role that we have minority doing that. So when it comes to minority and majority, that is now leadership in parliament to identify the strengths and the numbers. And in identifying the strengths and numbers, it does not mean if you are in majority and a bill has been brought by somebody from majority that is saying that your constituents should be poisoned, then you support it because you are in majority. So when it comes there, any bill that is brought before the parliament, an MP should go and ask the people who represented, who sent him there, give him.
Has any of those MPs gone to the people who chose them to and asked them if they can join Ruto?
Then number
give
two,
me a clip where
yes,
MPs went and asked the constituents that they can join government, and they
listen,
agreed.
there's nothing like that. Is what I want to explain to you. I don't want to take things casually. Government of Kenya has got 3 arms. So the moment this person was elected as an MP, he's already in government that is executively headed by the President William Ruto. Forget about the politics that they keep on lying to us that you see atuko kwa serikali. That is what is always to keep us at bay so that they can be able to play their politics. But a matter of fact is, immediately you swear that oath, they swore the oath under whose name? The fact that they were supporting Raila, they were still bitter. They did not mention Raila's name. So immediately they joined that person doesn't want to join Ruto, ought to have resigned that I don't want to be part of this government. I don't want to be in a legislature. That is what you do. But you cannot say I'm not in government of William Ruto and you are the one who is passing the bills that William Ruto is implementing. So
all right,
they are part of. So what is happening is now there's something called a goodwill, which is allowed. There's something called a goodwill, whereby majority have got some privileges because they are many. So now what William Ruto has done, he said that let us not misuse our privileges as majority. Let us also allow the minority to participate, because in democracy, majority has got their way, the minority will have their say. And for the last 60 years, there are specific people who've been minority. They've been shouting, Kibaki must go, what must go, these roads, and they've not been feeling that. So William Ruto said, no. It is true, in democracy, majority have got their way and minority have got their say. Can we have a way whereby we can also be able to incorporate the says and the views of the minority and give them an opportunity? How does it do it? Because majority will always have got that power to point people who are pro them to executive. But now, this minority, like John Badi, who is also experienced, can we not punish him because he supports minority? Can we now bring him to bring that expertise in our cabinet? This minority called Ologa, who've been opposing and demonstrating against us, can we now give him that position so that he can show us direction? This minority called Fikirini, who is a youth who just completed his university 2 years ago, can we now bring him to be in charge of youth because now he understands what youths need? Isn't that something that we need to be proud of? Didn't Ruto do something that people doesn't do?
Let me say that you are completely out of order and you are so misguided with your principles and way of thinking. In 2022, you are opposing everything that before 2022, when Uhuru was in power and certainly when they joined power, you are on the other side opposing everything that Uhuru Kenyatta was doing. And as on the minority side, you even had an alternative budget. So I don't know whether the constitution has changed all of a sudden in 2024 that we have this a new arrangement that is working for the people. But let me tell you, this arrangement is for political harmony between William Ruto and ODM. There is nothing in it for the people of Kenya. This is an arrangement that for two gentlemen who have been at war with each other and found an opportunity that was brought by the Gen Z's demonstrations to capitalize and be in power. This is exactly what is happening. Without the Gen Zs demonstrating in about 2 years ago, Raila Odinga would not be in government today. And that is a fact. You can take it to any bank. You would not be in government today.
That is
The
not a
loophole,
fact. When was the NAD? Listen,
the loophole.
listen. Are you aware
Listen.
of the NADCO report that is being implemented? It was in
The NADCO report,
2023 in March.
the
How did
NADCO
it come?
report,
That was the
the
beginning of
NADCO
this
report is
arrangement,
not
Mzalendo.
the NADCO report is not anchored anywhere in law. It is unconstitutional. What is being
But that is what was.
implemented in
That is
nothing.
what.
What is
Listen,
being
it is
implemented
anchored.
in NADCO
Let me
report?
tell you. Who makes the laws? Why was it taken to parliament? The laws are made in parliament. What is
The
called
laws can
parliament?
be made in parliament,
Listen,
but there
listen
are certain
first.
laws. Listen, there are certain
Listen,
laws.
I want to
There are
explain to
certain
you.
laws that you have to go to the people of Kenya and have a referendum. Parliament is not the final say.
Mzalendo, I said, let us not shout, let us not discuss the ignorance
Okay,
at the
okay,
point of
okay.
ignorance.
You know, all right, all
An
right.
act of
You know,
parliament,
you are
okay,
interjecting when.
and listen,
Hmm?
just listen.
Let me give you a chance.
An act of parliament forms parts of Kenyan laws. That is why each and every year we normally have this something called the Financial Act. And once the act have been assented into by the president as a bill, it becomes law. The mistake that Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila did during their BBI that Gypsy is referring to is that they did it and called those referendums without involving the parliament. And that is why when NADCO came in, they started on the right feet. And everything that is in that 10 point has passed through the legal process of law making in parliament through all the committees. Until now, the president have to assent to each and every part of it into law. They selected point by point, starting with IBC and what? They took it to parliament. So once it becomes an act of parliament, then the president assents to it. It becomes part of law. So Mzalendo cannot run away and tell us that there are things that people should go to a referendum. Which referendum did we go to for William Ruto to make Mudavadi the prime cabinet secretary, or for Matiang'i to be made the prime cabinet secretary, and such kind of things? What happened with BBI is that they started on a wrong foot, and somebody realized the loophole on the law. The laws are made by the members of parliament, and that is why anything that they do in parliament will always become a law. So we need to tell people the truth. And I've heard them, there's nothing that has happened that is illegal. So the NADCO report is what began this kind of power sharing and negotiation that we are seeing. It did not start with the Gen Z. And I find it so ignorant for people to believe that the Gen Zs had a demonstration. The Gen Zs were just used in the demonstration. The Gen Zs were just used in the demonstrations. They did not plan, they did not even have idea of that demonstrations. And when what they were demonstrating against was the finance bill. And when it ended, some power-hungry individuals took over and hijacked it. So somebody telling us that it's the Gen Zs that brought Raila and Ruto together, that person is lying. Raila and Ruto came together in March. I'm among the people who are planning those demonstrations and who was disappointed when I had to take a flight for several hours to get back to Nairobi for the demonstration, only for the next day. I still have the flags in my house for the demonstrations to be called out because Obasanjo and Raila and Ruto met somewhere. That was on March. I still have that feeling up to date. It still haunts me. After taking a flight to go and participate on the demonstrations with all the flags and the banners that I had spent money on, then Raila finally called off that demonstration. So that was the beginning of the arrangements that we're having today. So Mzalendo, you should know that the Gen Zs demonstrated against the finance bill. Then after that, some vultures hijacked their demonstration and thought that they will use them to oust a democratically elected government. And they went to comfortably wait in Mombasa State House, waiting for something fishy to happen so that they can come out. We know these things, so we should not just bury our heads and think that, oh, Gen Z. If the Gen Zs were there, then what happened to them? They would have proceeded. What happened to them? Why is it that we've not seen them today?
Let me answer you. The agencies were there. What happened to them? It's unfortunate that you don't read the newspaper. You don't see what is happening to the young people who are exercising their rights to picket, just like your party was doing for so many years. And what has happened to them? Most of them are still missing up to today. Many of them have been killed. As late as 2 weeks ago, that lady was poured acid onto her body, that doctor, for merely criticizing William Ruto. Is still in pain in hospital. So if you wanted to ask what Raila Odinga and William Ruto has done to the Gen Zs, they have killed them. And some of them have been are missing up to date. I hope I answered your question.
You answered.
not answered the question because telling me that somebody who criticize Ruto physically, and we know where they are, even if you go to Jivanji, not even their nails have been cut. So we have people who are so evil. I want to tell you.
Who are these
are
people
political. These are political capitalists like you who want to capitalize in every situation to incite and play around with the emotions of people negatively to portray the president as a bad person. Really, what did that lady do that you can tell me the government can just go and pour oil on her body? Yet we have people, real people whose faces are known and where they are. I can name for you several who criticize the president from morning to evening.
I can also ask you about Brian. I can also ask you about Rex. So what did they do for them to be killed and their bodies?
I think, Mzalendo, you've been part of this country for long.
No, so what did Rex do? What did Rex do?
I'll tell you. The Rex and the rest were killed during demonstrations. You are not a visitor to the demonstrations. I myself have attended several demonstrations. And during demonstrations, not only William Ruto's government, all the governments that we've had have been killing Kenyans during demonstrations. One, because of our untrained or reckless police officers who misuse guns. And it has happened. And you can even remember at a point in Kisumu, there are innocent Kenyans who are not only killed accidentally, but were sprayed by guns. I remember in 2017, after elections, I was in Kisumu. People were being removed from their houses and shot dead. Same for people like Rex, who are killed on the battlefield. Listen, I have not finished my point. Same for people like Rex who are killed on the battlefield. That one did not only happen in Kenya, even in the US where you are, such kind of things happen. The only difference is after that, there is normally some responsibility whereby the people who are involved normally take action and ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. But here, we need to blame the bodies like IPO and such kind of bodies and the ghost human rights activists who are always happy when such things happen to give them relevance, but they cannot advocate for the correction. You want to tell me that all these people whose rights have been violated and these bodies called the human rights activists, the ones you see people like on the streets each and every day, you want to tell me they don't have the capacity to keep on following up on these cases? Why are they not doing that? That is what gives them relevancy. And you know it very well. What gives life to civil organizations?
I think the civil society have been doing a lot of document.
When Trump said that they're doing away with USAID, they really felt bad because it is the USAID, the availability of USAID, that has ensured that there's a lot of terrorism in the world. Because if the terrorist activities are not there, it means the USAID will not have to distribute some money. So things like doing away with these terrorist activities with the USAID and such kind of funds to the civil societies is what is going to end this kind of rogue activities, because some of these things are even instigated. People like Boniface Mwangi will collect people's children and take them to the street and leave them to be tear gassed and shot so that they can have stories to write to their sponsors and proposals.
What about Raila Odinga?
I think maybe you asked me what changed. I was opposing Ruto ever since I was born. This is what changed. We say change is inevitable, and
Uh,
only a fool doesn't change. And doing the
uh,
same thing every time is
anyway,
insanity. We've been opposing and shouting at each and every government. We've never benefited. 60
uh,
years. I'm 30 years old. So should I keep on doing what my father and grandfather used to do, shouting at every government? No, let us now doing it differently. So after 5 years,
all right,
we will now
all right.
sit down as a community and say that now, because we gave Ruto peace, what have we gained in these 5 years that we never gained in 60 years? Then from that, people like you will come and tell us, see, you people gave Ruto ample time, but you still came out with nothing. And you see, then we'll be able to compare notes. But telling me to keep on shouting and it has never paid is not helping. Allow me now to support Ruto, whether he's bad or good. Then after 5 years, we'll now compare the notes. And from what I'm seeing, I can tell you the notes will be positive, and my people will no longer take their bodies on the streets to be shot and tear gassed and be used to write some funding proposals anymore. We are in this government, whether it is good, whether it is bad, whether it is killing people, hanging people, doing what to people, we have to give Ruto time so that after that we'll sit down and compare notes.
So you are giving Ruto time so that you can get the money from the government.
Not get the money. We want to compare. We want to compare the 5 years of supporting the government versus 60 years of opposing the government. Which one is more profitable? After at the end of the day, it is everyone for himself, God for us all.
Anyway, what Leo is telling you is just the same thing. Like I would tell him, since Raila and his group joined the government, has your salary increased? No. The answer is no. Your salary is still the same. Do you buy?
Since Raila and Ruto, since they
Joined,
joined government,
let me just finish.
the
Oh my
farmers
God.
in Ahero are going to double their produce. That irrigation pipe that has never been replaced was done by William Ruto. Since Raila
Yes,
joined government,
yes. Thank you, thank you,
when you'll
thank
finally
you.
come to
This
your
this
home
is
in Homa Bay, that ring road will be working. Kabonyo Kanyagwal
now
fisheries will be
now
working.
now you
So that is why we have to support.
now you are talking. Let me now bring you to speed why we want a good government and why we want a good president. The constitution is very, very clear. The president should work for each and every person, whether they voted for them or not voted for them. They should distribute resources equally. That is what the constitution is all about. The constitution does not say that, you have to join my government so that you guys can get resources. Whatever William Ruto is doing is more like a bribe to the people who did not vote for him, while a good president is a representative of each and every Kenyan, whether they voted for them or didn't vote for them. So it is high time for people like me who are on the other side. We are fighting for a president who is going to distribute resources equally to the people of Kenya, and not a president who is going to merely distribute resources in the name of getting loyalty or votes from that
But
particular
already
region.
Ruto is
That is
doing
the
that.
difference.
That is what has been missing. The president will distribute resources equally, and
That is,
Ruto has
and then
proved, and we
again,
are now getting it. Ruto has proved that he can do that.
again,
He's
what you
currently
don't
doing it.
understand. Again, when Odhiambo Mbai wrote the chapter of devolution, people like you, maybe you are too young to understand what he was writing about. When the chapter of devolution came, and we had the 47 counties, Odhiambo Mbai, before his death, said, for the Luo community, that is your community where you come from. The presidency will no longer be important, so that we can get resources here and develop our counties the way they are supposed to be developed. That is the spirit of devolution. Uh, and if each and every governor was doing their work in where you come from and any other place in Kenya, then they would not even need the president to come and give them development money. The development money ought to be distributed equally. The issue of roads, the ring road and all that, Those were things which
But
were
you,
on the pipe.
Mzalendo, you know that only 40% of the services have been devolved. So what happens with the remaining 60%? That is why we still need the presidency. We still need a president.
The remaining 50% of the services which have been devolved, we only need a good president who is not going to be apolitical, who is going to look at the Kauma down in the coast as people who need the resources equally as the Luo in Siaya and as the Kikuyu in Madira. So that is how democracy works, and that is how a good president who is a representative and the face of Kenya should work.
And that is what William Ruto is currently doing.
No. William Ruto is doing it for political mileage. He's doing it for political gain. For political gain means that he's doing it to entice a community that has been against him for a very long time. He is skewing the resources. Majority of the resources today are going to either Nyanza and Western Kenya, where he didn't have any kind of support. Is it a good thing? Yeah, it could be a good thing to those people. But let me again bring you to speed. The Constitution is very, very clear that when the president picks that Bible and that sword, he picks it to protect the lives of the people of Kenya, not to kill the people of Kenya. Our neighbors here in Uganda, just here in Uganda, if you can count the bodies of the people who have been killed by Museveni, they are very, very few. They are very, very few. And you know why? Because they use rubber bullets when it comes to the demonstrations, to the demonstrators. You here, you are just stamping at saying demonstrators were in a battle. Which battle were they in? They were not battling anybody. They were not facing the police to be killed. They were actually with an handkerchief and a bottle of water. They did not have any guns. They were armless. And for you to put a bullet on the head of somebody who is carrying a bottle of water, later on to abduct them and torture them for so many years, and you come here bragging that it is just okay, I think you must be insane or something. And then compare democracy like where we are to a third world democracy that is developing, that everything is okay. It is not okay.
No. Mzalendo, that's an insult. You can't call ours a third world democracy. You are calling yourself a first world or ever democracy, and you're in a country whereby you could not elect a woman because of some feminism and such kind of things. And
no, that is you know, I don't want to get into that politics of feminism and activism and all that. It is up to the American people to elect the president of their choice, and they did with a overwhelming mandate. Gave Donald J. Trump the mandate to lead the country. So what is the opposition here doing? What they're doing is to check what the president is doing wrong and to bring it to light. That is what democracy entails. The Constitution of Kenya was heavily borrowed from here, from India, and from South Africa. Then you should look at what your counterparts are doing in countries. This country with an economic what do you call it? With an economy of 78 trillion. 78 trillion has got only 50 governors. An economy of 78 trillion, it has got only 50 senators. A country like Kenya with an economy that, you know, is the size of a county here in the US, has got 47 governors. Kenya is simply overrepresented, and the political class, people that you support today, are the ones who are enjoying, but the rest of Kenyans are not enjoying at all. Look at India, a population of over a billion people. They have got only 28 representatives as governors, and they are doing it very, very well. But let me also emphasize on the economy, because that is the most important thing to the people of Kenya, not who has joined the government and who has not joined the government. For the people who have joined the government, they will not share their salaries with you, Mr. Leo. they will take their pack to their family members, and that is exactly what they will do. And to the so-called experts, we want to see what expertise they bring. The only expertise that can be realized in the economy is when the teachers' salaries have increased, the workers are more comfortable, and we have got access to the basic services. We have got access to clean water in my village where I come from, and there is security. You have a country where President entourage is followed by thugs, robbing each and everybody, and you cannot hear that in parliament. What do they discuss? They discuss useless things like the Parliamentary Account Committee, where we want to sit down, and the old party, Abash, that now we are in PSC, as if we are the first people to be in that position. Yeah, and then you come back and lie to your people that one Ndinjoro has been stealing money from PSC. I mean, let us all be honest. What will we be saying about the Gundinguru MP wa Muchomba, who is rated number 1, and Babu Owino? They have not been in PSC, but yet they are up there. So, unfortunately, Leo has left, but I hope that he's going to come back and listen to the
He just
facts
sent
of the
me a
matter.
message. Yes, that is a wonderful conversation from Leo Nyambaya. Of course, he has just sent me a message that he has some things to do early in the morning. But we have had 2 hours of non-stop political discussions here in Africa 24. I just like the way Mzalendo and Leo, they are having that discussion, because it's giving developments in this country. Because if at any point now we are having developments, then that is when Kenya will move from next level, from one level to another, and that is when we will match with the other developing countries. But the future remains on who is going to be the next president in 2027. Yes, Mzalendo, we are almost coming to the end of the show.
Yes.
And of course, I've listened to what you said together with Leo. I have a question, but I will ask you that question on Monday. I really don't want to ask you this question.
You keep on asking me the same question today, Monday. What questions are you asking me? You better ask me now. Don't ask me things that I can't answer on Monday. You better
No,
ask me now.
Mzalendo,
What is your question?
as no, okay. As we come to the end of the show, just on a little bit, I just want to ask you your honest opinion on Kenya playing against Gabon today.
Kenya,
Today
when
at Nyayo National Stadium at 4 p.m. we have Abumayang, your main striker when he was playing for Arsenal. He is in town. I have seen videos circulating. He has met a lot of journalists in the town.
how was our first game? Did it end 3-3?
Now
Or that was with
the
Gambia?
club had the Kenya Gabon. Of course, we lost. The Gabon club had Kenya, but the last match that we played in Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya settled for 3-3 draw.
Hmm?
We saw Kenya Harambee Stars settled for 3-3 draw with the Gambia.
Harambee Stars draw 3-3 with Gambia.
Yeah. So today we are playing. Of course, you in your country you are in the afternoon. Here we are in the morning. So today we are playing Gabon at 4 p.m.
I think the game of Gabon will be. I wish, first of all, Harambee Stars the best in this game, and definitely Kenya are likely to win at home. If they lose at home or they draw at home, then their chances of proceeding could be more
Of
difficult.
course, number one, before you say we lose at home, you see all the tickets, VIP, regular, they are sold. VIP were being sold for 10,000. They are already sold. VIP, they have been sold. We don't have any extra ticket. People are also asking for the ticket. So the stadium will be full.
I
What
hope
if we
Baba and
lost?
I hope Baba and Ruto are not attending the match. Otherwise, we are going to lose that match. It will be but anyway, on a lighter note, Kenya is. I wish the best for Kenya. I've not watched Gabon lately, but I've been following the performance of Harambee Stars. Harambee Stars
You have
have
the
been doing
highlights
well.
in the channel of Freak 24. Please make
Uh,
sure you take time and see.
Kenya have been doing very well away. Drawing in Gambia, that was a plus for them. So back at home, I think we are going to beat Gabon by at least 2-0.
That is Mzalendo saying that we are going to beat Gabon. Personally, I tried to secure a ticket for that match, but I could not get it. I wanted to go and see those guys playing Harambee Stars. You know, personally, if there is one thing I like in football is Kenyan football, Kenyan talent. I really don't like those European talents. You see the likes of Jamal Musiala, the likes of Bellingham. But when it comes to someone like Michael Lunga, Avire, the likes of Richard Odanda, the likes of Anthony Akumu, the likes of Mohamed Bajaber, then I'm happy follower for those local talents. Our Kenyan team must fly high today. Let's come together and let's not start chaos in that big match, because if we make a mistake, it will be a big blow for our country. Of course, I want to say thank you so much for the followers who have joined us since we started the show for the last 2 hours. That was awesome. I want to appreciate Mzalendo Leo Nyambaya for coming through. My good friend Gypsy Corner, you are a good friend, and absolutely you will go to heaven. Everyone else who tuned from other platforms, make sure you have a very good morning in East Africa. For the followers in the United States, UK, make sure you have a very good afternoon. I am Boniface Kimanzi. We meet here same place, same time, as we discuss again more about politics in this country. Most important, keep safe and always subscribe to Africa 24.